homie of the moment, Alyssa Orange, with us here on Halftime. Always appreciate your time, Alyssa. How's life these days?
Life is good. Life is good. Kicked back. Watched a lot of sports over the weekend. Some baseball, which I texted you about. But it's been good.
Yeah. That was an exciting weekend of baseball against Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Your Dodgers, the opening day was this morning in Japan. You didn't wake up at 6 to watch that, did you?
I did not wake up at 6 to watch that. Unfortunately, I was very tired this morning, and I did not get out of bed. But it has been pretty cool that they've gone over and started stuff overseas the last couple of years. And then, I think a lot of people in the state are familiar with Taylor McGregor, and she is a part of, obviously, the Cubs broadcast. And so I've been following her journey over in Japan as she gets ready for this. And she looks like she's having a lot of fun. So I'm sure everybody over there is enjoying it.
Tournament. Do you watch a lot of basketball over the weekend, too? Do you watch SEC? Was Florida State playing over the weekend? I didn't keep up.
Oh, yeah, no. No. Their basketball season is over for FSU. In fact, Leonard Hamilton's time as the head coach at FSU is over, and it was bittersweet. They lost their first game of the ACC tournament to Syracuse, and they're not making a postseason, obviously. So that was the end of Leonard Hamilton's very long career at FSU, but they hired Luke Laux, who was in school as a player a little bit when I was at FSU, and he is the new head coach, and so I'm really excited for the new era, but I've got to wait a whole entire year for that to start. Once Arkansas lost on Thursday, and the way that they lost, man, that was tough. But I kind of stopped watching basketball at that point and gave myself a break.
So we've identified one thing here that is going to be a huge factor in the Kansas game. It's rebounding by Trevin Brazile. I would assume that Jonas Adu is the guy that's going to be guarding Dickinson most of the time. I think Brazile can help out, but his rebounding is one factor that will come up huge in this game. What other aspects of this team do you think they need to be able to not focus on, but need to be a net positive?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing that everyone has probably talked about, and I'm sure you guys have too, is just what the addition of Boogie Flanagan means for this dynamic, and how much things change or adjust because he'll be back on the court for however long he is back on the court. But I just want to see, I think defensively, what this team does. Again, we have seen Trevin Brazile rise to the occasion defensively a little bit more over the last couple of weeks, and you mentioned Jonas Adu, but I'm looking at guys like Billy Richmond, who is so scrappy and he is so aggressive. This is going to be his first NCAA tournament game. There is going to be a lot, I'm sure, that they are going to, as just freshmen, and Carter Knox too, just processing is like, the lights are a little bit bigger. So how does a guy like Billy Richmond respond to the environment that he's going to be in Providence? Because I think he can be such a big factor for this team on the defensive end, but you got to make sure you stay out of foul trouble. So I'm really curious to see how the freshmen play.
Alyssa, have you done a bracket yet? And who's your final? We got a bracket contest going on, so we're all kind of doing one. But it's it's they last for one round, then it's like then you roll it up and throw it into the wastebasket. But do you have a Final Four? Do you have a sleeper? Do you have a Cinderella? Who do you kind of who do you like in this tournament?
Okay. Well, I don't. I have not filled out my bracket yet. I was planning on doing that either later today or tomorrow, but I haven't given it much thought. And I'm kind of an old school person too, where I like to print my bracket out and use the highlighter and the Sharpie, right? Like I know we do it all online, and we've got a family bracket challenge that we've done for years and years. But I'm still old school. I like to see that piece of paper.
Alyssa,
in my hand.
I don't even know what a TikTok is. So I'm old school as well. I'm filling mine out right now.
Good. And so and I feel like the highlighter and the Sharpie, just make it a little bit more real. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I don't know exactly who I'm going to have in my Final Four yet. I'll follow back up with you. However, I got asked yesterday if I have an idea of who I think I would like to win. And I'd like to see Tennessee win a national title. And I hope I'm, don't cringe. I know.
They have the sixth best odds according to Vegas.
I like Rick Barnes. I would like to see Rick Barnes win a national title. I just really like him as a head coach. If there's maybe a little bit of a Cinderella story, obviously I'm going to go back to my hometown team and VCU winning the A-10. And we'll see if VCU and, the havoc over there with the Rams can make a little bit of a run. That'd be fun to watch. I went on my Facebook page, and, you have Instagram stories, and I think 70% of the people that I'm friends with from back home were at that championship game when VCU won on Saturday. Saturday. So I've got VCU as my little Cinderella. I'd like to see it make a run.
Hey, Liz, I want to switch gears here over to women's basketball because we really weren't on the air very much last week because of Arkansas's draw in the SEC tournament. Then we had baseball on Friday, so I hadn't really addressed very much about Mike Neighbors' resignation and the ensuing coaching search for women's basketball. I hated to see Mike step away from the program, but I do understand the reasons why that this has happened. And look, women's basketball is still a growing enterprise, and I don't know if we realize how exciting it can be. It's like this is just a really important hire for Arkansas with the House settlement coming up and everything, and the SEC. Look, I mean, men's basketball right now, women's basketball in the SEC has been there for about 25 years, maybe 30 years. It's a really difficult league to rise up in, and there's just I hated Mike leaving, but again, I do understand the reasons why.
Sure, I'm right there with you, Phil, and I want to say first and foremost that I'm always going to be in Mike Neighbors' corner. He wasn't just a coach. I think you can understand this too and relate. He's a friend, and him and JC were great to not just me and Saw and the kids, but to Pig Trail Nation, and really open those doors to their program or to Mike's program. And, Todd and Amber and Lacey and even Nick, who I only met once because he had just joined the staff. They were great people. They were great to us. And that doesn't take away from, unfortunately, kind of how things ended. But you're right, because I think when you look at the SEC and you see what people or other programs are doing, you have to get this one right because you're kind of already behind the eight ball. And you've got to figure out how can you bring somebody in knowing that, you're not going to have the NIL budget that South Carolina and LSU and Tennessee have, but how can you recruit in other ways with the budget that you have, and then bringing in people to believe in the program again? Because I would love nothing else for Arkansas women's basketball to be competitive. And we saw that stretch under Mike when they were going to the SEC championship game in Greenville and almost winning a tournament title, but losing to Mississippi State and things like that. It's who can you bring in that is going to be able to excite the fan base again and then recruit really well. And we have seen programs, even like Ole Miss, bringing in Coach Yo. We have watched that development and the growth of that program under her because of the energy that she brought in, right? And you're seeing what Kim Caldwell's doing in her first year at Tennessee, taking over and re-energizing that fan base again that is so rich in women's basketball history. So what do you go do? I, again, don't know much. I have no idea kind of where things are. I know that Grand Canyon's head coach, that name had been thrown out there a little bit. I don't know exactly if there's a lot there, but that was a name that was thrown out. You look at Satia Messer, who's a former Razorback, who was a longtime assistant under Kim Mulkey at Baylor and then at LSU before she took the head coaching job at UCF. Do you go and you talk to her because she is a former Razorback? They just got to make sure, and Hunter has to make sure that who he does bring in is going to help set up this program with a lot of work to do, and see if they can kind of shift the narrative a little bit around Arkansas women's basketball.
Yeah. Alyssa, we'll leave it there. I appreciate you hopping on. It's always good to hear from you, whether it's the middle of a baseball game or not. So keep it coming, okay?
I will. Great always to be with you guys.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.